I think there are three types of people when it comes to ideas. One, the person who can't find an idea to save their life. Two, the person who has some ideas, but they believe they're all unoriginal, boring, stupid. Or three, the person that has so many ideas, they don't even know what to do with them. Which one are you? Welcome back to Panels in Progress, a comic and manga makers podcast about all the details of making comics. I'm Chris, and today's topic is all about ideas. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about where to find ideas if you don't have any, how to take ideas and make them unique, and what to do if you have too many. So I've got a theory. I think there are three types of people when it comes to ideas. Person one, they have no ideas. Wouldn't know where to find an idea. Hoping, begging for an idea. Two, this person, they have some ideas, but every time they reread them or talk about them or think about them, they're worried that they're unoriginal, ununique, and they're worried that they're stupid. And the third person, they sneeze, three ideas pop out. They can't help it. Ideas just flock to them. That person has so many ideas, they're giving them to person one. I think at different parts of our life, we've all been one of these types, or maybe sometimes all three at once. So let's start with the first person. This person's looking high and low for ideas. They're searching the couch cushions. They're looking in the attic, the basement. They're asking a friend, phoning a friend. They're begging on the side of the street, please give me an idea. Where can I find ideas? They're given a map. They still can't find an idea. And I think the problem of this person with no ideas, supposedly, is their input. When it comes to getting an idea, you've kind of got to start with what you're interested in. What's exciting you these days? What's making you smile and laugh and enjoy life? Those things are where ideas can come from. What's the last book that you read that you couldn't put down? Or the book that you listened to for hours on end? It was a 6-hour book and you thought you would finish it over a couple of days, but you ended up sitting down and listening to the whole thing from start to finish. What about that game that you played recently where you played it for hours on end, you forgot to eat, didn't know what time it was, just because you got lost in the world? What's the favorite movie that you can watch over and over again? You know all the words, and every single time you see it, you get excited as if it's the first time. Think about that last comic or manga that you read, that after you finished either the first volume or the whole series, that you couldn't stop thinking about it. You kept wanting to read more. You wished that there was more. Or some art that you saw online while you were scrolling through your social media. As soon as you saw the art, it inspired you to open up your sketchbook, open your tablet, and start drawing, start creating. Or even music that you recently heard, that it makes you feel something. It makes you feel an emotion that you can just imagine the words playing out in your head because of how beautiful the music is, or how amazing it is, or how amped up it is. I mean, music can make you feel pretty much anything. If you answered any of these questions, congratulations, you found an idea farm. An idea farm is a place that you can go to over and over again and pull up ideas. Use the things you love and are passionate about to draw inspiration from. Obviously, you love these things for a reason. Why not think of ideas using the things that inspire you to form new ideas, to farm ideas from, for creating something new? The things that excite you about the world, this is where you get your ideas from. This is where you can pull inspiration from. And if you can't think of anything recent that got you excited, then maybe you should stop listening to trash. Maybe you should stop watching trash. Maybe you should stop looking at trash. But I'm just playing, but all seriously, if the things that we are consuming via movies, video games, music, social media, etc., aren't exciting us, aren't adding to our lives in a creative way, then really what's the point? I mean, we all get burnt out sometimes from the things that we see. Nothing seems new, everything seems unoriginal, but you should be able to find something inspiring. And if you can't find anything inspiring from the current things that are coming out, then maybe you should time travel. Wait, you guys don't have a time travel machine? I mean, neither do I, but I do visit Nostalgia Lane quite often. Think about the things that you used to like. Think about the things you used to love. Think about the things that you used to enjoy with immense passion. Your old TV shows, your old cartoons, old comics, old movies, old video games, old music. It's all still there, and discover what you used to love about it. Maybe it will inspire you to create something new. Maybe you'll catch something that you missed the first 1,000 times you listened to that song. Maybe you'll notice a new area of a game that was undiscovered until just now. Or, what's interesting is that sometimes when you revisit movies that you used to love or cartoons that you used to love, now that you've grown up and you've lived a little bit, you see it with a new eye. Sometimes a fresher eye, sometimes not so fresh eye, depending. It's worth revisiting to see and remember why you loved it. I'm constantly checking out old books. I go to the library, and sometimes they don't have the newest things, but they do have a lot of older things. Things that I would have never seen, things that I missed for whatever reason, and I check them out. And what I find is I love them. That's how I found out that Akira was an amazing manga. That's how I found out about Berserk, Saga, Deadly Class, Attack on Titan, Alice in Borderland, DBZ, Outcast, Invincible. All of these things are not recent. They're definitely worth revisiting. I'm currently reading a comic that is from 2012 called Batman the Black Mirror. And man, I'm completely impressed by the storytelling. Really exciting stuff. And I'm not a Batman fan, but checking out an old comic or old manga, it's amazing what you can see that was done in the past. So let's move on to person 2. This is the person that has some ideas. They're kind of inspired, but they believe that all their ideas are boring, unoriginal, or worse, they think they're stupid. And I think this problem, or the answer to this problem, is a mindset thing that you thought could be true, but you probably need to reframe how you're thinking. Your idea could be boring, it could be unoriginal, and it might be stupid. And to that I gotta say, so what? What if it is stupid? Let's start with boring, because boring is subjective. Maybe the idea sounds boring, but the way you tell it could be exciting. You could take a simple story and draw it in a way that is engaging and exciting. 2 examples that I think of right off the top is Death Note. Death Note has a scene in there where the character is eating potato chips while doing homework, but he's also pretending to be writing in the Death Note. And you don't think, like, when you hear those words, like, oh, this is an exciting scene. But when I was reading the manga, and when I was watching the anime of that scene, they did such a good job showing the tension of that moment that I couldn't help but keep wanting to see more and more because of how well they built the tension of that moment. A seemingly boring sounding scene that was amazing. Another example is Bakuman, the manga. Bakuman is a manga about making manga, and only strange people like myself are into those type of manga. It's a very niche group, And I think it's a manga made for comic aficionados and manga makers and things like that. But I had no idea that they would tell a story so well, that you were so interested in these kids learning to write stories, learning to draw, getting better and better. And there was so much suspense, would they get the one shot? Would they get serialized? Were they going to be good enough? Would the storyboards be approved? What would happen if their rankings went down in the Shonen Jump magazine? Like, the way they told the story, I haven't finished it because it's an older manga. Some of the volumes are hard for me to find, but I love the story and I can't wait to find out more about it. Can't wait to see how it all ends, see if they got the ending they want. But like I said, it's a simple story of two guys wanting to become mangaka, and it was exciting. I enjoyed it. How did they do that? How did they take something supposed to be boring and make it exciting? They used good writing, tension, drama. They used dynamic paneling. So, really, boring all depends on how you tell the story. Boring all depends on how you draw the story. And I'm sure you've read comics and manga that should be exciting and they should be action packed, but you're so bored because right in the middle of an amazing fight scene, they cut to the B plot about two characters that you don't care about. And you're just wondering as you read the pages, when are they going to get back to the action? When are they going to get back to the story you really want to know about? I mean, they do this in anime, they do this in movies. It's like right when the tension is building, when you just want to know what happens, they're like, let's cut to something nobody cares about. I guess a big example of this was the B plot in The Last Jedi when they went to that casino. Nobody cared about that casino. Nobody did. But even though I enjoyed The Last Jedi, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole for now. So just as I've read comics that were exciting and they killed it by interrupting the main plot, I've also read comics that had no business being interesting and I couldn't stop reading. A lot of comics that I've picked up that the title sounded interesting, or maybe it had a catchy cover or something like that, or even just the subject matter just wasn't something I would normally pick up, but because it was available at the library, I gave it a try. Some of those comics turned out to be like some of my favorite comics. Boring really does depend on you. The next part of this is unoriginal. This is most likely true because all the time things are being created. Everyone is making comics these days, or at least it seems that way. Everyone's making a manga these days. Everyone's making video games. Everyone's making movies. Everyone's doing everything. I mean, there's billions and billions of people in the world, and everyone is creating something. Yeah, a lot of stories are being retold, and a lot of stories have been told and retold again. And I'm sure that you've heard of the Joseph Campbell theory about the monomyth, where literally you can fit every single story into this myth, change the character names, change the locations, and treat it like Lego pieces and just plop these things in, and then you have the same general myth in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if I believe that. I can see the relevancy, I can see the general concept, but I think ultimately, no matter who's telling the story, even if it's the same premise, everyone has their own way of telling a story. Everyone's story is told differently. From my own personal experience, me and my wife could go to an event and something could happen. And the way I retell the story of what happened at the event and the way she tells the story, it seems like two totally different things. And sometimes I look at her and I'm like, were you even there? Because that didn't happen that way, or that wasn't that important. And I think the reason that is that we're all different people. We all have different experiences, and different things stand out to us as we live. So keep that in mind, is that your story has you at the center of it, and how you see the world and how you think the story should be told will come out different. Now, yeah, there's going to be a lot of similarities, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because think about how, even though there's so many vampire things out, there's so many different types of vampires, people still want more vampire movies. People still want more zombie movies. People, like, genres and subgenres exist because people want more of it. Like, for me, I'm really into portals, alternate dimensions, dreams, parallel universes, doppelgangers, twins, interesting things like that. And I don't care how many things seem similar, I'll watch it all. When I was really into the alternate or parallel universe thing and there was like a slight uptick in those types of movies, I literally went on Netflix, went on Amazon Prime, HBO Max, and I just typed in parallel. And anything that happened to be about parallel dimensions, I watched it because I love it. Maybe you guys should start thinking to the effect of, if there's already stuff out there like your story, like in the same genre, then that just shows you that there's already a group of people who would be interested in that stuff. So don't assume that your idea is unoriginal. Just kind of reframe it to make yourself think that your idea might be similar, but what flair can you add about yourself to your story to make it your own? And to add, I wrote this whole thing about how, think about movies recently. Movie corporations make sequel after sequel. Saw, the series, has 10 sequels. Like, seriously, I thought Jigsaw died in a movie a long time ago, but they're still making more and more. Why? Because people keep going to see them. People enjoy them. People watch them. If Saw can have 10 sequels, then you can make some unoriginal stuff too. The point is, just tell your story. It doesn't matter. The last part of the person who thinks that their idea are either boring, unoriginal, is they think their ideas are stupid. And again, to that I say, so what? Do you know how many stupid ideas exist in the world? A movie named Sharknado exists. There used to be an MTV show called Jackass, where people would do stupid things, and people watched it. They made a movie called Jackass, and people went to see it. Reality TV shows where people are literally just doing their day-to-day thing, they exist. There's just so many stupid things out in the world, and I'm not mad at it. I mean, hey, if someone likes it, then great, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is that people are going to show up. If they're into that, they will show up. I mean, haven't you watched a movie and thought, oh my god, that was stupid? Haven't you watched a TV show and like, why did I waste my time? This show was stupid. Or you saw a cartoon that was stupid. You read a book, or you tried to read a book because it was so stupid you were like, I can't even, and you closed it. But my whole point is, stupid things exist in the world, and though it might be stupid to some people, to others, it might be the best thing they've ever seen. It might be the best thing they've ever read. It might be the best thing they've ever saw. Let your idea exist. Just try it out. Write the story. Because maybe you can take what seems to be a stupid idea and turn it into a great idea. I mean, anything's possible, right? There's an audience for almost everything. And just because I think Sharknado is stupid, there's plenty of people who enjoyed it. I think. I mean, I never saw it because it just seemed stupid, but maybe it was amazing and I'm just missing out. What do I know? Whole point is, if you like it, make it. Now, the last person, number 3, the envy of us all. The person that has so many ideas, they don't know what to do with them all. They walk around with ideas, that just surround them, as if they've been chosen by the idea gods. This person's real problem is that they have so many ideas, they don't know which idea to choose next. Too many ideas, not enough time. And to be honest, this is the best problem to have, because you can always pick from an overflowing bucket list of ideas. You can always share. If you have this many ideas, you can even share your ideas with the less fortunate. The number one type of idea person, the ones with no ideas, you can share with them. And you really shouldn't care about sharing, because no one can really steal your idea, not 100%. I know there's an asterisk on that, because stealing is real, because people could pull inspiration from your idea. However, like I said in the previous part, how you tell your story is how you would tell your story. Just like there's plenty of books that I've read that were amazing, and even still, even as amazing as they were, there might have been a part or two where I was like, I would have done that differently. And I'm pretty sure you've had people tell you, oh, you should do this differently. So let me remind you, sharing your ideas at this level, if you have that many, it's not really that big of a deal. Because one thing about your idea is that because it's yours and people want to create their own ideas, you don't really need to worry about it. Most of the time, you think people want your ideas, and they really don't. Because let me remind you, making comics takes a lot of time. Making a manga takes a lot of time. Do you remember how many hours you put into thumbnailing? How many hours you put into penciling and inking and coloring and figuring out the script and the dialogue? You know how many nights you stayed up trying to figure out something for your comic? How many nights you cried over the inking because it just didn't look the way you wanted it to look? You remember all that work where you went to share it? Finally, you thought it was done. You went to share it with the whole entire world, and just as you were about to post it, you noticed that you forgot to turn on a particular layer, and now you got to go back and turn that layer on and re-export it. Do you remember that? Oh, that wasn't you? That was me. Okay, the point is, making a comic takes a really, really long time. And those artists that are serious about making comics, that are serious about making manga, they don't want your ideas. They want to create their own ideas. They want to see their own ideas come to life, because it takes time. And even if you shared your ideas, again, two people could have the same idea and their both ideas could come out completely different. I'll tell you a quick side story. The story that I have yet to create, the story that I have yet to draw, which is Rem, has dreams and nightmares at the center of the story. And I've only told one person about this story, which is my wife. I haven't told anyone. Now, I follow artists on Instagram, and there was one particular artist that said, oh, they were making a comic about dreams and nightmares. And I was pissed. Now, I hadn't read their comic. I had no idea what their comic was going to be about specifically. I didn't know what their story was going to be about, anything like that. But just the idea that they were creating a comic that also centered around dreams and nightmares, it upset me, and I was frustrated. But I think most of it was because this artist that I follow is just an amazing artist, and I wish I had their talent and skill, and I wish I could draw all the things that they do and color the way that they color. But that's beside the point. The point of the story is that eventually they did make a couple pages about their comic, and they started talking more about what the story would be about when it came to the dream world. And wouldn't you know that their story was nothing like mine. Nothing. Yes, there were dream elements and nightmare elements, but their story was more of like Power Rangers for dreams or something like that. And mine is completely different. You know, mine is a coming of age story dealing with the subconscious and how nightmares are real. But the whole point of the matter is that we had similar topics, but we both went down different paths because we both have different lives and different experiences. Yeah, it's okay to share. It's okay if you have the same idea as someone else. Had to get that off my chest. back to the person that has too many ideas, here's what I do. I have a notebook of all my ideas, and I also use a phone app if I don't happen to have my notebook nearby. I write down all of my ideas. Depending on how detailed it is, depends on how much I write. If I just have a title idea, then I write that down. If I have a character concept idea, I write that down. If I have a story, which is 9 times out of 10, those are the ideas that I get, I will write down as much detail about the story or about what I want to happen in a particular scene, and I'll save those ideas. Especially because most of my ideas come while I'm working on another idea. And I'm not the type that can switch project to project. I really am the type that has to focus on one project at a time. For me, I save all my ideas. And then what I do is, once I finish a project and I'm looking for a new idea, if I don't have an idea that it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do next, I will go back to this notebook of ideas or my phone tab and look and see what ideas are jumping out at me. Which ideas sound like they would be exciting to do next? Can I re-spark that fire of creativity when I reread the ideas that I wrote? And what's great about having a notebook of ideas is that because you get it out of your head, it kind of allows your mind to add to the idea in its own way as you continue to live your life. You'll figure out like, oh, I can do it this way, or maybe I should change this aspect, or I'm going to add something to this story to make it fuller. So keep a notebook, keep a phone note app of your ideas and refer to them, add to them. Let's say you start working on project A and you constantly keep dreaming about project B, then if it's worth it, go ahead and switch over to project B. However, if you find yourself jumping back and forth very often, I would be very careful about that, because sometimes when your attention is split between projects, it's kind of hard to maneuver back into the groove of project A when you've been spending all your time on project B, or maybe you just end up abandoning project A. So figure out what works best for you. If you need to see a project to its completion, then do that. But if you have that ability to multitask and run 2 projects at the same time, then give that a try too. So that is the episode. I'm really curious, where do you guys fall on these idea types? Are you person 1, no ideas? Person 2, got some original dumb ideas, unoriginal dumb ideas? Or person 3, got so many ideas you don't know what to do? Or are you a mix and mash of both of them, or all 3 of them, depending on the time of year? I think for myself, currently, I'm definitely person 3, but I have definitely been person A. And actually, I think it was a Jake Parker video about how to get ideas. If I can find that on YouTube, I will go ahead and link that in the description section. But yeah, let me know, which idea person are you? Do you have any ideas to share with our fellow comic creators? Put it in the comments below, and we will chat next time.